And I'm like, and I even asked you guys, does he even have WhatsApp on his phone at this point?
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The thing about this show is
live. Lovely.
the thing about this show, besides the fact that no one's watching, is we don't have intro music. We don't have any kind of like way to start the show. So for the one of you that are watching and the millions that are wishing that they could be watching, this is what, the GoonerManiacs?
GoonerManiacs. Yeah, it's an indie pod.
It's indie as fuck.
It's an indie wrestling pod that hopefully we can do. Mike wants to do it once a month, so
well,
yeah.
You know, when that time comes every month where where you get in a bad mood, you need to listen to the GoonerManiacs. We're going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk whatever else you want. We're going to talk Wrestlemania because that's coming up. But when you're done with your bodily functions, Mikey, can you are you leading this podcast? Is that how it's going to work?
I'm just finding out right now that we're going to lead this podcast. Yes, and just to be completely
I can't lead
accurate,
2 podcasts in one day. I got to be a passenger for this one.
That's fair. That's fair. And to be completely clear, when he says we are going to do these podcasts like once a month, he's referring to himself, Magic, and Sebby. Joe and I, this is like a one and done deal, most likely.
What are you, Joe's agent?
All right. Well, we haven't discussed fees here, sir. He might
Has the wage packet not been?
He might be going to an AEW podcast pretty soon, so I don't really know. Now let's get this
podcast. That's professional podcasting rather than podcasting entertainment.
All right.
Well, AEW apparently doesn't make any money. They're not in it to make money. Neither are we. So we're kind of the same.
No, AEW is probably hemorrhaging money, and so are we. So.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's start off with the introductions. For the first ever GoonerManiacs podcast, Mikey, how's it going, dude?
It's going well. It's going well. The dichotomy between the 2 podcasts I'm doing today is just. By the way, there's 6 of us that are in the Gooners podcast group. Mikey and I did not tell the other 4 people that we were doing.
Oh, that is absolutely wonderful.
I felt that it was better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So yeah, this was not. Andy is going to be very upset when he learns about this. But yeah. So sorry, Jared. This is you're now attached to this wonderfulness. But the dichotomy between the 2 podcasts today, not just in the professionalism of the guests, but in the probably in the number of people watching, but. I have a feeling this one might even be more fun. So
I like it. And to be fair, when Andy finds out, inevitably he will. He's just going to find out how to call us like 10 types of virgins.
He's going to come in here. He's going to hit end stream and then he's going to leave.
I could see that going on. And for the first time on this platform, many of us for the GoonerManiacs, if you will. Thank you. Joe, dude, first time getting on a podcast with you. Welcome aboard, Joe, to the Madhouse. How's everything going, man?
Happy to be here. Can't wait to get this shindig started.
Funny, newest member of appearance on this podcast, but the one of us 4 that's been podcasting the longest is Joe.
Yes, he is. He definitely has years of experience. This is where Joe.
He started podcasting in the Attitude Era. That's how long ago he started podcasting.
I said, Joe, this is where I would plug your podcast, except the podcast is no longer here, unfortunately. But, insert old podcast here. And we're on. And funny enough, his co-host, whom I met this man through that old podcast, Sebby, a good mate of mine that I podcast a lot with on Not Another Arsenal podcast. How's it going, my friend?
I'm good. It's Wrestlemania weekend. I'm really excited about it. And me and Mike, full disclosure, me and Mike have Magic have been trying to do something like this for about 2 years now, and we would always.
I think we came up with the idea when I was passed out on the street in Brooklyn, and you left me there after the Monday Raw after WrestleMania.
You told me you were good. I believe
it's our 5-year anniversary, though.
Yeah,
very very soon.
Yeah, but
he was good 5 hours before that point in which you started planning the podcast with him.
I didn't say I was good. I said. Oh, I'm good. It's okay.
I believed them.
Context matters.
grown man. You should be able to figure some, stuff out. But
Absolutely love it. All right, guys, we're gonna talk a little bit of wrestling. We're gonna talk a little about old school stuff that we liked back when we were infants and Mike was a teenager. We're gonna talk about Attitude Era. We're gonna talk about favorite music, pay-per-views, etc., and of course, because we are factually talking about wrestling on an Arsenal podcast, we're gonna try to get a little bit of Arsenal love in here. So first and foremost, we're gonna start off with music. Mike, is there any favorite tune of yours that you have?
I wouldn't call it a tune. We're talking about like
entrance music.
Entrance music.
Oh, my favorite entrance music of all time was the original Brood theme song. The Brood was, for those of you who don't know, and if you're watching this and you're not Jared, you probably do know. The Brood was these young upstarts named Edge and Christian, along with their kind of overlord or whatever we want to call it, Gangrel, who wore these fake teeth that were so disgusting. David Heath, I think, was his name, and for some reason he never really made it over that much. But he was the blood sucking, drinking out of a goblet dude, and they had the greatest entrance. They were the first ones, I think, to come in through the floor in a ring of fire. But that entrance music was just awesome. I love it. And Edge has used that music a couple times over the last, in his comeback, and it just gets me every time. It's my favorite. It's not a complicated song. It's just that bass. And of course, we can't play it on here because then we'd lose all of our monetization.
Oh no, you don't want to do that.
Hum it. Can you hum it for us?
No,
I have a really good feeling that I'm going to learn a lot in this podcast because out of the four that's on this podcast, I'm probably the least involved in the wrestling world. So there's a lot of things that are going to go over my head. So here I am, willing to learn.
But you've kind of got back into wrestling in the last year or two, through everything with AEW and WWE going back and forth. Like I feel like you've been more curious and gotten back into it.
He's W curious. By the way, we have way more viewers than either Nap or the Gooners podcast usually have for a regular Arsenal pod right now. We'll see what happens.
This is what happens, Joe. Welcome to live podcasting, I guess.
I'm all in.
You're all in. I like it. Well, you're up next, man. What is your entrance music, your theme music that you love the most?
I'm gonna go with the DX theme music. The original DX theme music. That heavy drum that starts at the beginning, then you get the feedback. I loved it.
When I used to pick up my when I had to take my son somewhere, to go to soccer practice as it's called over here, I used to always just walk into his room and go, "Are you ready?" And he would go, "To bow to the masters."
Did he walk onto the pitch telling everybody to just suck it?
As soon as he hits the parking lot, it's his dad.
He missed a penalty one time because he got up and went like this.
Oh my god! But one of my favorite memes, going around on Instagram and Twitter right now, is some guy dressed in baggy jeans, a backwards hat, and said 6-year-old me walking through class in the 8th grade, just going. It was.
See, why does Salt Bay have a career for going like this? He should be cooking and cutting things like this, cutting the meat. It should be so much better.
You know what? Yeah, it would be great too. If football players just brought that back, or would they get canceled right away? If they scored a goal and just instead of doing the Ronaldo thing, the Sue, just jump up and just go again.
Yeah. Instead of doing the arms out, just arms in.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That'd be amazing.
No, I love that. That's actually one of my favorite eras, I'm going to say, of wrestling, and I definitely was following in that era, which plenty of fun with those goons run the show. Seb, get in here. What's your favorite?
My favorite is the original Randy Orton music. Was called "Burn in My Light."
That's a good one, Seb.
I like
the
that.
intro to that one is so good. It's just a guitar playing by itself, and then the bass comes in, and then the hook on it is really, really good. We'll talk about it later on, but like I think it's a really fun, like good. It really pumps you up. I used to play five-a-side with Joe in Brooklyn on Friday nights, and I would listen to that song to pump me up on my way into Brooklyn.
Did he RKO'd the goalie and he got kicked out?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well-
that's a true story.
Speaking about getting kicked out, Randy Orton, when he left Evolution, got kicked out, however you want to look at that. His new theme song, that one I did not like ever, dude.
I
Ever.
can't wait until Mike. I can't
You
wait
were
till
like
Mike
this when you heard that song?
Dude,
Next
yeah.
Gooner podcast, and we're like, Mikey.
Yeah, dude. That's good. No, that song, I mean, I understand the message, like, hey, forgive what you did to me and everything. Like, I understand what they were going for because he was out of Evolution, but that song, dude, I never liked it. I'm like, oh my God, Randy, why, dude? Why did they change your music? So
Do you like the Voices song, his current theme song?
that one's better.
Yeah.
I'll go with that one, yeah.
It's okay. It's too slow. That's what his original one was like a little upbeat. It was rocking. It was
But he moves slow, like he moves. The thing about wrestling, and I guess this is more
He's a
a heel
viper.
thing. You move so slow as a heel. Like you have to learn. I could never walk as slow as like Roman Reigns walks.
Yeah, if you were a wrestler, you walk like this, right?
Exactly. I mean, is that not how? I mean, that's how most footballers celebrate a goal, and
Absolutely.
that's how I walk in my personal life. I just, my professional life, I scale it back a little.
One of the first times I met Mike and we met and watched the game at O'Hanlon's, Arsenal scored, and then Mike was cheering, and he just started doing the Bushwhackers walk.
Well, I mean, I'm serious. That's as famous. That's like a celebration in England. Like people like there's this.
No, you weren't going like this. You were
I know.
actually doing the bushwhack. He put me in a headlock and started licking my head.
Mike, I admire you.
Even if the Bushwhackers had never existed, though. I mean, it's so smooth. Was that before or after I insulted your son and your father?
Well, the first thing you ever said to me when we first met was you insulted my son and my father. So yeah, it was after.
Mike's the ultimate heel.
I waited until we knew each other a little bit better.
Yeah.
You're like Christian. You just insult people's fathers and children.
I do.
Love that.
Hey, Mikey, what was your favorite? You got to answer the question yourself.
No, you know what? It's actually no music in it. It's a recent tune, and that's Roman Reigns. I just like the energy, the little whatever it's playing in the background, da 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 da, like mixed with the battle cry and everything. I just like the lead up to it, and when it gets knee deep into it, I just like how everything just comes together. So.
Somebody ruined that song for me like a week ago, and I'm going to ruin it for you right now because we're such good friends. But if you play "Cry Me a River," it matches up.
Shut up.
Yeah, some guy like figured it out. He's like, "Wait, this sounds really familiar. What do I know this from?" And then he's like, he played "Cry Me a River," and it all matched up. He's like, "Now you'll never unhear this." So I was like, "Oh."
Well, to be fair, "Cry Me a River" is a great song.
It is a good song.
I'm okay with that comparison. You did not manage to ruin it, so joke's on you, sir.
Damn it!
Now we're gonna. Lori wants us to give a shout out to Kane's music, Sinister AF plus the pyro from the ring post, and I'm reading it for all the people that are listening on Apple, on iTunes right now. Millions.
Millions.
Speaking of Kane, by the way. My daughter sees him on a regular basis.
Oh, maybe he could guest star on our podcast.
There's
a good word for us.
That'll be the end of my relationship with my daughter.
Who do you think we get on first? Barry Horowitz?
Yes.
Or Kane?
It took 14, almost 15 minutes for the first Barry Horowitz reference, but
can I say that Barry
high
Horowitz,
five.
Yeah, Barry Horowitz got about 7 new Arsenal followers recently on Twitter. So lucky
That was
him.
so funny, that picture you showed where it's like shows all of his recent followers, and it was just everyone you know.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, no, you know what? The best part is like we have listeners tagging him as well. So if that man
He's
ever
he's
opens
gonna
up
be
Twitter,
like, what the hell is going
Yeah.
on? Like, he hasn't
What
gotten
is
that much attention.
Arsenal?
2024, how am I relevant right now is what he's gonna think when he sees his notifications on 20 plus.
And dude lives in Tampa. I was just like, I'm 45 minutes away from Tampa. I was in Tampa for the City game, watching at the pub up there with Tom Sable. I have to get him to come there, and just like, it seems you might have to pay him though to get him to do anything, and that's what scares me, because it's a slippery slope. Fabrizio, was doing podcasts for 200 pounds, fees. He's probably a hell of a lot more now, but he was the only person that ever asked to be paid. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, and I'm like, I ain't paying for guests.
Yeah.
I'll get everyone else that's more honest and does better work than you on instead of you. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe for a cameo that might be worth it, but for an hour-long podcast, I'm thinking maybe he's going to ask for 500-600 pounds, which is probably what he would have made in a month wrestling in high schools.
Yeah, that sounds like an insane fee for me, for somebody that is not very popular amongst the wrestling community right now. Like 500, he's what did they say, Mikey? Nicking a living? I think that's what they say on
nicking a living. And if you're looking for the bell, I don't have it. So
unfortunate. We're not mad. We're just disappointed at you, Mikey. On to the next subject, sir. Favorite pay-per-view / moment. What made you love said pay-per-view?
If we're talking about the strength of the entire pay-per-view, WrestleMania 17 might be. I mean, I know that there are some more boutique answers to that, more hipster answers to that. There'll be a Ring of Honor pay-per-view or New Japan pay-per-view, but fuck that. For as far as like the biggest pay-per-view that was the best pay-per-view, I think WrestleMania 17. So you guys were like 4 years old at the time, but actually some of you might have been. But it was just from top to bottom. That card was amazing. It was that Attitude Era. I think that was the one where Will Durst and Limp Bizkit, or not Will Durst, Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit had the theme song back when it was actually cool, before he became a meme. But yeah, 17 was phenomenal. Ian's right. The main event was Stone Cold versus Rock, and it wasn't the first time they were feuding with each other, but it was a fantastic ending. So yeah, WrestleMania 17 for me.
Is there any standout moment of that particular WrestleMania, or do you have a standout moment in a pay-per-view that you like, that you cherish, if you will?
I mean, the main event was just phenomenal the whole way through. Was this in a WrestleMania or was it not, when the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match? I'm sorry. Was that your I mean, I don't remember if that was in a WrestleMania, but that wasn't the question, I guess. Yeah, that's probably like the tear jerker moment, because he said it. So it was so easy to read his lips what he said, and you knew what was happening. But that would probably be the moment.
I think it was WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 24.
Wow. Okay.
First image pops up is the Sweet Chin music connecting.
Yeah, that would have been. I can't remember which WrestleManias for most of these things happened. I mean, obviously I remember WrestleMania 3 and all the matches there, but it's like I used to know all the Super Bowls. Like I could tell you the score and all the details and the stats from like the first 19 Super Bowls. But then when it got ridiculous and there was like 50 of them, I'm like, I couldn't tell you who was in Super Bowl 27. I couldn't tell you what the main event of WrestleMania 26 was, but 17 was great.
No, I don't blame you at all. I'm sure there's a lot of these. Like when you said 17, I'm like, I'm gonna have to Google search to see who that, what card that was. So kudos for you for even remembering.
They had a gimmick. They had a gimmick battle royale with all of the famous old ridiculous gimmicks, and for some reason, I mean, it wasn't a ridiculous gimmick, but Iron Sheik won that. I think he was, and within a year, he was too drugged up and feeble to even stand up, but he won that one.
I'm starting a new tradition that anybody says Iron Sheik, I blur out fuck Hulk Hogan.
I thought you were going to say you were going to piss your pants.
It'll make you humble.
Hulk Hogan would not have been, I mean, Iron Sheik would not have been a fan of mine, if you know what I'm saying, or Barry Horowitz.
Gee, Mike, what do you guys have in common? Joe, moving on.
We're buff.
That's exactly what it is. Yes. You have a favorite pay-per-view moment of the pay-per-view and or other pay-per-view, however you want to play it.
I always love Royal Rumble. Whenever I get a chance to have the guys over to watch Royal Rumble, I do. And the first time I ever saw somebody win back-to-back Royal Rumbles was Stone Cold in 1998. And I think that was when he had that whole like Vince McMahon storyline, and he gets taken out in like number 1 and comes back to beat everybody to fight Vince in like WrestleMania or something like that. By far my favorite pay-per-view moment.
That was a good feud.
Yeah.
That was the first time they had like the Authority versus the I think
they were the corporation back then.
No, I don't mean that the Authority as a
okay.
I just mean the Authority figure and Vince McMahon fighting against the
that was such a great angle because everybody who works at job 9 to 5 or whatever, they want to kick the shit out of their boss, and that I think that's what made that angle and feud so good, because it was like every man just dreaming of doing that to his boss, and they had two great like guys doing it as far as performers.
I mean, I'm self-employed, and I wish I could do that to my boss occasionally. So,
Sebby, give your answer because then there's something that just popped into my head that I want to bring up.
That he wants to make sure doesn't say. So please fill up airtime.
My favorite like pay-per-view moment ever is King of the Ring 1998 is when Undertaker threw Mankind off the Hell in the Cell, and you got Jim Ross going, "Oh my God, he's dead! He killed him! He killed him!"
Ask God for my way. I love JR so much.
JR, good old JR.
My witness.
He killed him! He killed him! He's broken in half!
Dude, shout out to him, dude.
Dude, that I was watching that and I like, how is this legal? I was like, he's dead. And then at the end of the fucking, at the end of the match, he's got his tooth through his nose. It's an incredible match to watch.
Well, he falls through the top of the cell.
Yeah, that's at the end.
Yeah. That's the second time. Yeah,
that's the second time.
And that one wasn't planned, if I remember.
No, that was
like a documentary or some such.
Yeah,
and the spot of the table was planned, but the falling. It
wasn't planned. And then there's a great documentary where the two of them are sitting at a table talking about living that match and talking about what happened, what they were thinking. And I believe Mick says, like, if the cage didn't give at a certain, like, in a certain way, he could have broke his neck. So he was literally just like a half second from being able to walk. It was pretty incredible that if you ever watch that documentary on I think it's on Peacock now, but yeah, that match, my mouth was on the floor. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And whenever I think of wrestling, I think of Mick falling from the sky and hearing Jim Ross in my head.
Do you remember how old you were around that time?
98. I was
45.
Love that.
I was 25.
I was 14, 15 years old.
Oh, okay. So you were invested in that. You might have been believing JR. Oh my God, he's dead.
Can you imagine JR doing an Arsenal game like Gwen Yuzi's on the chase? Neil Maupay is running away like a scalded dog.
You know, it'd be great. Like when he really hated somebody, so like Harry Kane dives. My God, you son of a bitch!
I call him
gotta be Harry Kane.
Jezebel dove again.
That's gotta be Harry Kane. That's gotta be Harry Kane. Except that wasn't JR, but so I don't know if we're gonna do like funniest like bits or segments or anything like that.
Whatever you want.
But we're talking about the the Rock and Stone Cold. I think it basically ends with Vince McMahon and Stone Cold teaming up. And it's right around the time of the Invasion, I think, as well. Came within a year or two of that.
Yes.
Silly Stone Cold was unbelievable. And it didn't ruin his badass character because it was so like he'd already put that over, established that. But like playing Jimmy Crack Corn on the banjo and wearing that hat and that's when what started as well.
Yeah.
And I mean I go back and watch some of those backstage things in the dressing room with him and Angle and like just the funniest, like up until the list and those sketches, those were the funniest sketches I have ever seen.
One of the best ones is when Vince is doing like a team like rallying cry to Angle, Undertaker, Stone Cold, maybe Triple H and somebody else, and whatever Vince said,
yes,
Stone Cold would say, like let's say, you guys got to be strong and together.
Yeah, gotta be strong.
Gotta be strong
gotta be
together.
strong. Oh, so fun.
And he's standing next to Undertaker, and he's like tapping him on the shoulder. And the
image of that is just awesome.
Oh, and Taker just gives him a look of death. Actually,
the more he does it, the more angry. Just look like shut the f up, or I'm gonna choke slam you right now. And then Stone Cold, he's so dead selling it. It's amazing. It's
how they didn't crack up during those things.
Yeah, it was great because for years Stone Cold was like the rattlesnake, right? You're like drinking, slinging beers, and like stomping mud holes, and then you see this more funny side of Stone Cold, and it brought him to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, great. I mean he is. I mean it's a shame his career didn't last longer, but he is one of the best of all time. He's not the best of all time, just based on longevity, but and the fact that there are other people who have made about 8 different characters and 8 different kind of concepts work phenomenally. Specifically, my GOAT of all time. I guess GOAT of all time is a bit redundant, but like Chris Jericho, basically, I mean, he's everything he's done has gone over. Holding up a pad of paper, saying just the stupidest things, and it gets. I mean, like he's just got the charisma coming out his ass. But Stone Cold, when he moved into that character of just being a jackass, a joke,
it was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
One of the things that when you were talking about breaking character, I love that dude. Kurt Angle is a gem for me too. He
was really good at it as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. It's true.
Oh, it's true. Oh, well, speaking about funny moments, the first time, one of the times when he started saying "you suck," and he kept on saying, "No, you got to show me respect," and he kept on going back in and coming back out. And he's like, "What? I can't believe you guys are still doing this." He goes, "We're gonna give you hillbillies one more time, okay?" And he kept on doing it. He did it like 3-4 times, and eventually, like his match got like, "Oh, okay, it's gonna be main event now." Now everybody and what the compromise was, they muted the TV audience, so every time they said "you suck," they treated it like it was the F word or something. So they blurred it.
Do you guys remember the 3 I's?
Yeah, intelligence, integrity, and intelligence, intensity, and integrity.
Yes. I feel like integrity was one of them. All right, well played.
Very good.
You were just on the.
I have none of those.
Just on the Steve Austin being a solid baby face and not giving away his badass persona, I think that applied a lot to The Undertaker as well, that even when he was over with fans or when people didn't like him, like he just had like a certain character that people will love him either way. To finish up that little segment, as far as pay-per-views go, I got my favorite pay-per-view end moment all wrapped up together. And how can I not insert Mexican jokes here, Mike? Because how can I not go with Eddie Guerrero?
Oh,
Eddie Guerrero hitting the frog splash on Brock Lesnar on No Way Out and winning the title for the first time. I mean, that's up there. It's
where
up
were
there.
Where were you when you watched it? Were you in Mexico?
I was not in Mexico, no. Unfortunately not. That would have been lit, dude.
Have you ever been to Mexico?
I've never been to Mexico, no. Mexican
That's
that's
my
never
favorite thing about you. It's nothing about your personality. It's that you're Mexican and you've never been to Mexico.
I'm a Mexican that's been to Guatemala. Go figure, dude. But yeah, that has to be one of my favorite
I
moments.
love the famous Guatemalan lucha libre.
Along with, I want to say it was WrestleMania 19, maybe whenever Benoit won it in triple threat and
Don't say the B
Whoa,
word.
whoa. I don't know who you're talking about.
Don't say the B word.
Guerrero's friend and him celebrated at a WrestleMania, and
He doesn't exist anymore.
Both of them were holding up the titles. I didn't realize that was the thing that was going to get us canceled, Mike. That's where the line is.
You can't say that. You can
That's
talk.
where the
The
line
only
is.
way you can say that is if you're talking about those sex balls that people use, and you call them Benoit balls. You cannot talk about
What?
Why do you know that?
Yeah.
This is new for me.
He's going to start a new podcast, not another kinky podcast. And,
Okay. Add that one. Dusty Rhodes, my goat, like it. Dusty Rhodes, old school. What is he? He was always over.
You can't. He's been erased from our lives.
Whom we do
The
not
man
speak
you
of?
cannot mention.
Okay, that we don't speak of him.
What was his the Wolverine?
The Rabid Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I like that. Favorite finishers with a little bit of an Arsenal twist, Mike.
Oh,
what
shit.
ex Arsenal or current Arsenal player, if you hate the current squad, would you like to apply said finisher on?
Oh, I mean, there's only one answer to this.
Theo Walcott.
No.
Jack Wilshere.
Wow.
Aaron Ramsey. I could keep on.
There's
anger. No.
There's two answers. One of them will make you very upset.
No. Okay, no Spaniards. Okay.
No, this guy is French. No, I'm sorry. It would make Sebby upset. But I mean, it's got to be Mustafi.
He's German.
No. I'm saying it's got to be Mustafi. The one that I think would make you upset.
The man with beautiful hair that's on his way to LA.
No. I was thinking Guendouzi, but
I'm with you there.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I would give I would like to curb stomp Mustafi.
Really?
Holy shit!
Wow.
Did you know he's a World Cup winner?
Yeah. And I won the Olympic gold medal in basketball in 1992.
Oh man, somebody in the
chat
had
as much to do with my team winning the gold medal as Mustafi had to do with them winning the.
I love that. I said somebody in the chat already put up RKO for Van Persie. That's mine, so I'm going to switch mine up towards the end.
Beautiful.
Well played.
Very good.
True gang AFC. Aaron Ramsey for sure. See, I'm telling you, there's other people like me out there.
Although you ask about this, I've already done one. I mean, look. First of all, look at my tan.
I mean,
beautiful tan.
I put a little too much sunblock. You put a little too much sunblock on your face, but
I put SPF Google on my face, and yeah, the rest of the tan. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't too thrilled with him at the end either. So
love that. Well deserved. But Mustafi, I gotta say, you got no. He's
not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, after he tapped out, some money fell out of his pockets and he got some players.
Face turn for him.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a great thing. Joe, you're up next, man. One of your favorite finishers, and what ex-player would you like to apply that on?
I would love to give the razor's edge to Samir Nasri and just ooze machismo all over him.
That would be
But
glorious.
you know what? I hate him even more than I hate Mustafi. I forgot about that. Good call. Very good call.
You managed to hate him so much that you just like erased him from your memory. Like, nope, doesn't exist.
He doesn't exist.
Seb, let's get creative. What you got?
Well, I got to change the player. It's definitely a Stone Cold Stunner with double fist finger, double flipping the bird in the face before I kick him in the stomach. But it was going to be Nazari, so I got to switch it up to freaking Sebastian Scalacci, because he's doing my name a disservice. Come on, man.
Wow. Deep cut.
You're not keeping the good comments up long enough, Mikey. Jared with the first of all,
you know what it was, Mike, is I trusted Jared so much to not put up something that would get us canceled, and he heel turn is what he did. So
well,
I was led to believe that wasn't allowed nowadays.
Well, you know,
by a guy named Steve that lives in Tennessee now.
Yes, the Gooners podcast does not take responsibility or share the views of most of our viewers, and because Jared is a viewer today, we he'll get canceled, but we won't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, isn't that why we're doing it at 3 o'clock in the morning over in the UK?
That's exactly why we're doing it at 3 o'clock in the morning. I would make with the sharpshooter. I would give Ozil a reason for his back to hurt and not make sure.
Oh,
there you go. Sharpshooter on Ozil. That way he could miss all the games instead of just the away games for us.
Just the ones up north.
Yes, absolutely. And because somebody did mention the RKO in the live chat, one of my favorite RKOs, the out of nowhere moments, was I had the luck of going to the Wrestlemania here in California in Santa Clara. And it was when he caught Seth Rollins mid-air, when Seth Rollins went for the curb stomp, and he bounced it up a little further up and then caught him up in the air. Brilliant finish. One of the better RKOs that man has performed in his career. Love it. Seb, I'm sure he'll be back soon. So he's coming in.
Speaking of Stone Cold Stunners, there is such a difference in how people take the stunner. Austin Theory takes a great stunner. Like when you have to pop, when you pop up out of the stunner and flip over, like there's a way to take it. And obviously the worst acceptance of the Stone Cold Stunner was Vince McMahon at WrestleMania a few years ago. It took like 5 minutes to give him a stunner. But I mean, I just, the one I've noticed recently, because the stunner's kind of been brought back by Kevin Owens, is Austin Theory. He does a really good job of that. It's about the only thing he does a good job.
I'm sorry. Did you guys talk about the Rock's selling of the stunner when
I floated that one out. Yeah, that one was wild in its own way.
Triple H has a good one too. He did one where actually it became like a GIF where it's like an infinity stunner loop where Stone Cold's giving Triple H the stunner, and then he falls down and pops up, and then it just rewinds to him doing it to him again. It's really done really well.
Love that one. Yeah, I think if I remember, again, just floating back on some of the sillier moments, some of those guys, I remember watching documentaries or interviews where they used to oversell or create things just trying to make each other laugh and break character.
Or to basically take the piss out of somebody like Shawn Michaels did to Hulk Hogan. That's an all-time wrestling moment. Mikey, you know about that one?
Absolutely love that one. Yeah,
I mean,
I remember that one. It was like literally fall to the ground, get up, and do another roll. It was fantastic.
I mean, it was so over the. And it was meant to be. It was just so absurd, and you could see Hulk just being like, "What the fuck's this guy doing, man?" Like he knew that he was basically just teasing him and giving him shit and trying to make him look like an ass, and there was nothing he could do about it because
Yeah, towards the end of the match, he looked embarrassed to be out there. That's how bad it was.
You want to know something crazy?
He should have been embarrassed to be.
Something crazy about that is only a few days ago, I found an interview with Michaels. He's already and he's of age already, so this is recent. And they were asking him about that moment, and he said, "Everybody thinks I oversold because I was upset. I oversold because there's moves that don't look good. So I was trying to make it a good match. So he twisted it and said he was like, I didn't oversell. You guys just think I oversold it because I'm Shawn Michaels. But dude, that was a master class of fucking
when he drops the leg on you and you kip up and go over the top rope as a reaction to that, which is practically what he did. I think you were overselling a little bit,
just a tad bit. All right, up next on the comments, we're gonna start talking about some of our favorite wrestlers, and of course, we're gonna start off with the women wrestlers. Have at it, Mike. Favorite one of all time?
Of all time, because there's a few currently. They all kind of happen to be in AEW as well right now. I mean, and I'm being super vapid right now because I'm just thinking of who the hottest ones are, which is I guess not the whole point.
That's where the Benoit balls come into play.
No, well, I mean, look, if they asked nicely, but favorite women's wrestler of all time, probably from a talent and an entertainment standpoint, probably got to be Lita. I think I would go with Lita.
I like that one. That's a solid one. I have 3 wrestlers from that era that's floating around in my head. Magic Loves. Nope, not reading that comment. Joe, you are up next, sir.
I can't say all time, but recently I really enjoy what Toni Storm's doing in AEW.
Oh my God, yes.
I liked her in WWE when she was part of NXT. She was phenomenal. She went to AEW and like kind of floundered a bit, and then she did that like black and white, like
timeless
yeah,
Toni.
It's fantastic.
You know, I'm generally, men or women, I'm not even super into the actual wrestling. Like I can appreciate a really good wrestling match, but like a lot of times I fast forward through it. I love the promos, I love the entrances, I love this, you know, the drama part of it. Like I like the soap opera part of it more than the physical spectacle. So I've always judged wrestlers more, and you can see this by what I've said about Stone Cold and Jericho and stuff. I mean, I'm not talking about the best technical wrestlers, but the personality, the charisma. And for that reason, Joe, you're spot on, because I mean, Lita didn't really have a ton of charisma or character, but she was just a really good wrestler. But what Toni Storm's doing right now is absolutely hilarious. And you know, it's Jericho-esque. And so yeah, I mean, I'm jealous of you for having made that.
Well played, Joe. Sebby, you gonna come back in?
All time, like I always loved, like in high school, I was infatuated with Trish Stratus. But like as far as like wrestling now, somebody that really like I'm really excited to see, especially now in WWE, is Jade Cargill. Like she
ever gonna wrestle though?
I
know she did recently.
She did recently, but like when she went, well, she debuted it in AEW, but then went to sign with WWE when her contract was over. And Triple H said she wasn't ready, and then he put her in the performance center. But like she came out the other day and she just looked like a superhero. It was amazing. Like she's going to be a huge star. So I'm really excited to see where her career goes. Yeah, she looks amazing, and like just what she can do. She's just so strong. Like the only women's wrestler that was like as physical and the way she looked was probably China, and maybe
Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix, yeah.
Oh, as far as being built like that?
But she's like so tall and she just looks amazing.
Nia Jax.
Oh,
well, Charlotte Flair is tall and strong as well, right?
yeah.
I don't think she's not built the same way. Like Cargill she has like,
I'm built different.
Yeah, she's something else.
I'd like to see Jade versus Rhea Ripley at a WrestleMania sometime soon.
That would be an amazing WrestleMania for maybe.
I don't get Rhea Ripley thing. Like I find nothing interesting about her
Really?
at all.
But she says mommy.
Mommy.
You know what I don't get, and this is a pet peeve of, and I understand it. We're talking about wrestling here, gentlemen, but it's similar to Mike. I also like the soap opera part. I often tell my wife, like, "Hey, you got General Hospital. I got General Hospital with some wrestling in between,
with some
Yeah.
Dudes in underwear.
with some step up inziguris that they don't have on General.
We turned it up a notch, right? But why? Because you bring up Rhea Ripley. I have a small pet peeve when it comes to wrestling, and that is when they put a very small wrestler up against a very like physically like super strong and so the Ripley Becky Lynch thing, I look at like the size and I'm like, dude, I know Lynch is great at selling, but I'm just kind of like, it's like the logic in me. Like Mike, you mentioned that you watched AEW. When they put up Samoa Joe versus, was it Darby or?
Yeah, Darby.
Yeah,
recently.
I'm just like, I'm looking at the size of Samoa Joe and I'm looking at Darby and I'm like, what? Like, dude, book this better. Like, I don't know why, but my head goes there. Same applies when like Mysterio was battling Batista for that matter.
There's a reason they do weight classes in amateur wrestling and they don't in professional wrestling. I mean, Big Show against Hornswoggle.
Who won that?
I don't even know if they ever fought, but
No contest.
No, we're going with it being true now. As far as
you
one
can
of my
run through a guy's legs without bending over, you probably you probably shouldn't be in the ring with him.
I like that. I would say, you know what, I was thinking about kind of the old school wrestling scene for women, back when they were more exclusively called divas. And so 3 wrestlers used to stand out for me. One was Lita that you mentioned, and
I
another
thought you were going to say Mae Young.
Mae Young. That was back in the day.
Worst skit ever. Worst like long-term thing ever with Mark Henry and Mae Young. I mean, it made no sense. It was
You killed.
Look, it's Mae Young's kid.
Yeah, it looks just like yeah. No, never mind.
I'm going to give a special shout out to Gail Kim and Victoria because along with Lita, they were some of the only. I feel like they were breaking in the women's wrestling where like, oh look, they could actually wrestle instead of just reeling them out in bikinis. They were a little bit. They were like a cut above, technically above the rest in that particular moment. And I just like every time when I used to watch, if I wasn't walking away from a match, it was most likely Lita, Gail Kim, or Lita or Victoria involved. And Victoria had that move. What was it called? Like, was it Black Widow? Something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, I just one of my favorites of that era when I used to watch. So that's what I'm going to go.
Real quick. Do you remember Mikey, who when Lita started in the WWE, she was the valet for a male wrestler. Joe knows this, but Mikey, do you know this?
I started watching when she was hanging out with Edge and Christian, but I don't know if there was something before.
Oh, that was even after a major thing. But all right, Sebby, do you remember who it was?
She was a valet before Edge and Christian. I mean,
Yep.
before
the
Hardys.
Yep. Joe knows it. That's why I'm going to you last. But
I don't know.
Joe,
I had his name, and now it just slipped my mind. He was the guy with the red hair. He was like
he was
a cruiserweight. Yeah. Oh man.
S.A. Rios.
Yeah, S.A. Rios.
And he sucked, and Lita went on to a long career. But I mean, no one ever heard from S.A. Rios again.
S.A. Rios was a goner, unfortunately.
Oh,
Love that. All right, Joe
But
brought
like
up
role
DX.
reversal was Sable and Mark Marrow.
Yeah.
He came over and he was supposed to be the next big thing, and like she was like, "Here I am," and they were like, "See ya, Mark."
Well, it's not role reversal. That's kind of the same.
Yeah, same
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that. But yeah, I mean that happens sometimes. I think it also happened with Candido and what was her name? Not Sable, the other one. Sunny, who I watched some documentary on them recently. I think it was Dark Side of the Ring.
Mm.
And, Candido was the man, and Sunny was just this girl who had nothing to do with wrestling, and then they brought her in, and she just went like that.
Yeah.
And then like that, I think she's in jail now.
She's in jail now.
for vehicular manslaughter, right? Yeah.
Jesus, man, slippery. That Dark Side of the Ring, all right. Yeah, that's a great documentary, by the way. Yeah,
That's
some of those are like fantastic.
Some of them are so heartbreaking.
All right, all
Most
right,
of
then
them are.
we're gonna talk about some of our favorite factions now. Those groups of fuckos that just would collectively gang up on poor souls. Have at it, Mikey.
How many people go into a fact? And because there have been some amazing like duos, like short term, like runs and programs together and stuff. I mean, you got your Daniel Bryan and Kane thing. You've got X-Pac and Kane. But I mean, my favorite one of those of all time, I think, was Jericho and Kevin Owens, because it led to the list. But even before the list, those two just, I mean, it's hilarious that Kevin Owens he just learned English as an adult. Like, he never spoke English growing up. I can't believe that, because he's French Canadian. But his sense of humor and the two of them just played off each other perfectly. But I don't know that you can call them a faction, though, because they didn't have a name. I guess you have to have a name to be a faction.
Yeah. For our next month's podcast, we're gonna include favorite tag teams, because I clearly did it. But if you guys want to go, we could also insert some favorite tag teams in there, so that counts.
We want to keep them, keep the audience. And I don't know where this audience is coming from. We see 64 people that are watching, but I know that if you're in YouTube, it's only showing like single digits. So I don't know where they're all. I mean,
unfortunately, it's just a glitch that StreamYard got going on with Twitter. I would love to believe that 63 people are watching us.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe we've got the GoonerManiacs watching, and or they just opened Twitter and then fell asleep. But which is more likely. But
Joe brought 61 of his friends. That's what I'm going with.
All his
best
girlfriends.
faction of all time. I mean, I don't want to say DX. I don't want to say NWO. Let me pass. I'll think about this a bit, because I didn't come prepared with an answer for that one.
Okay, yes. If only the host would have sent these notes earlier.
You did, but I may or may not have had another podcast to prepare for.
Yeah. I know, but this podcast, as far as the people,
it's more important. I understand.
Obviously, okay. I'm glad we established that.
You're talking the podcasting royalty and Joe with dinner and a podcast.
Yes, I came out of retirement for this.
This is he's getting inducted in the Hall of Fame right now. So this is the Hall of Fame speech.
My ring's coming tomorrow.
I love it. Joe, do you have any specific faction that you like?
If we're gonna stay away from DX and NWO, I'm gonna go with, I can't remember what they were called, but it was Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase's son.
Generations
Dynasty, Legacy, Dynasty,
Legacy, yeah.
Legacy.
Yeah,
that was a great concept that
like
just didn't go anywhere, but it had all the potential.
I thought DiBiase was gonna be so much more. I just thought he had the look, and if you guys take the time to Google search Ted DiBiase, things did not go well for him. Junior, yes, Junior, yeah.
He's in big trouble, isn't he?
Yeah, matter of fact, I remember that crew, and I was like, this Rhodes kid, he's so skinny, he's definitely not going anywhere. Ted DiBiase Jr. is going to really go places. It was the complete opposite, and this is why I'm not in JR's shoes finding talent, of course. But that's a call, Joe. I wasn't expecting that one. Even my 2-year-old is happy with that one, as you can see him in the background.
That's a good one.
I have answers now, so I'm ready after 7.
All right, go ahead, Mikey.
Well, all right, I have 2. And I don't, the ones that are just too big, like the NWOs of the world, and those get boring really quickly. But
you're saying LWO, right? I mean, they're bigger than the NWO, I believe.
Well, I don't want to say that they're my favorite faction, because I thought I'd save that for you. But probably from like a comedy and enjoyment standpoint, I love the Inner Circle on AEW. Any faction that's led by Chris Jericho,
that's a good one.
Is going to be good. And peak Inner Circle when they first formed it was great.
They had so much heat on them, like they were just the biggest heels too.
But they weren't overly serious. They were, there was some comedy mixed in, as there always is.
Yeah.
One of the greatest promos was Chris Jericho like opening a long list of people that he wasn't going to give another rematch to, and like it was like every other one was Moxley, but it was like oh God, I can't remember what it was. My son and I talk about this all the time because he was talking about Kenny Omega, Kenny Chesney, like he kept going down different. It's one of the funniest, like it's hilarious. But and then from like just an absolute fascination and like chills standpoint, the faction I got to go with, and I just saw the documentary on this that brought it all back is the Wyatt family.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Love the Wyatt family, and if you haven't gone on, I mean, it's been out for 3 days, but if you haven't gone on Peacock, which we know you all have, if you're in the States, if you haven't gone on Peacock to watch that documentary yet, do it because it is amazing. The documentary is on Bray Wyatt.
I was super on and off wrestling around when he was like really peaking, and dude, when he passed away, I saw everybody. It was one of those like when Eddie passed away, like the world of wrestling like came together and they were all sad. And so I'm generally interested in like the type of character he was and the faction and the friendship that he built with his partners in that side.
I mean, the things that people said about him on that documentary, the people that worked with him, I mean, apparently he was just like the most creative guy in the history of creativity. But like, but they were just to be in an arena when they made their entrance is, I mean, I'm a 51-year-old man who's raised 2 children. I've been married for 27 years. I have a successful career. And I'm here talking about the stupidest possible thing that exists in the world about how I got like chills and goosebumps when 3 grown men that I don't know walked out of a tunnel. like that's the stupidest thing, but you really can't know about that until you're there and you feel it.
I had the opportunity to participate in his entrance because I was
you were a Firefly.
I was a Firefly because it was WrestleMania 31 where he battled Taker.
Oh
wow!
Yeah, so I actually had the chance to see him see him wrestle.
I thought I noticed you there.
There you go.
It was that one light that just looked more Mexican than the other lights.
Yeah, well, the guy was wearing a sombrero.
Yeah, sombrero, and the light wasn't white. It was
the light. The light had a lit sombrero on top of the light. By the way, Bill brings up that Evolution was at their peak right around when he first started getting into wrestling. I was at the show in DC where they threw Goldust into the controls and he got electrocuted, and then for the next year came back with that Tourette's effect.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was at the show when that started, and
I forgot about that.
I had no idea that was going to turn into like a year-long bit.
One of the best bits is when he's talking to Triple H, or Goldust is talking to Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and he is making Triple H and Shawn just die in laughter in the ring. They're breaking character because he's so good at one. Yeah, that's such a great that was a start to a great line.
It's one of those gimmicks that just you couldn't get away with that today.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, essentially making fun of someone with a disability, but like
yes. I think Goldust could have gotten canceled like 17 times over with his career of how many different things.
And ironically, the thing that started his rise as Goldust, which is being kind of an androgynous, sexualized character, that wasn't okay then, but it is now.
Yeah. That's
ahead of his time, sir. Ahead of his time.
Like it's the complete. He started, and he's just never done what's appropriate in any given time. But
he's the most over wrestler right now. Just over.
Oh my God.
Well, they've done that with a few wrestlers. They've done that gimmick of being. Yeah, I mean, and there have been wrestlers who are
Pretty Deadly. That's like the latest.
And there were
team faction that
ones before that, and then Chris Canyon was out and wrestling, but that's more often than not it's the gimmick. But yeah, that Evolution just brought that back to my. I mean, they were a good faction, but they were just pure like evil and destruction. I always liked the story behind it.
Yeah. I'm going to
Seb?
say, as far as like none of the like the comedy or anything routes, but like I love the Elite. When it was Hangman, the Young Bucks, Cody, and Kenny Omega, because they all brought something different. They all had you had the Young Bucks with their like high flying like lucha libre style of wrestling. Cody, he's so good on the mic and in ring performer. And then you had your like hard man in Hangman and Kenny Omega. I think he's amazing. He's so good with
break down on a regular basis.
Yeah, I know. But that's the thing.
He's one of those guys that never. I mean, him and I mean, my favorite wrestler right now that I'm just like, I just can't stop watching is
Osprey.
Oh, yeah.
He's been.
I heard about him.
Yeah.
I heard like 10 years ago. I read somewhere like you have to see this match. It was like either it was probably New Japan or it might even have been like Pro Revolution Rev Pro over in England. It was just it was something that wasn't on television in the States, so you wouldn't necessarily know who they are. And I think it was Omega and Osprey. And they're like, this might be the best wrestling match of all time. And I watched some of it. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I never saw or heard of them again.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always remember the name Will Ospreay. And then when he came to AEW and walked into our, weekly lives on a weekly basis, I mean, that dude he's got charisma. Obviously, I love the fact that he's English and he uses bruv all the time.
I was going to say, you can't talk about Osprey and not say bruv every 30 seconds.
He's like the guy that you would meet at the pub after an Arsenal game, except he's like an amazing professional wrestler.
Yeah. You know what football team he supports?
That's a good question.
Please don't say Spurs.
I know if there is a Spurs. Do you know there is a major wrestling star who is a Spurs fan? I don't know if a lot of you guys know who that is.
Dude, I feel like I know this.
And he was one of my favorite wrestlers for a while, and as soon as I found that out,
yeah, fuck, he's a fairly popular wrestler, dude.
Yep.
Who is it?
Is it?
He's from the Emerald Isle.
He's in a current faction.
Yeah.
He's
in a faction.
Finn Balor.
Yeah, Finn Balor. He's a big Spurs fan.
I know Sheamus is a huge Liverpool fan, but and we don't really and Bad News Barrett always talks about Preston North End because he's from Preston, but and what's her name? I don't know what her name is now, and she's disappeared off of AEW, but the pale woman with the black hair that beat AJ for the title like on her first night in WWE, Paige. She's a Newcastle fan, but I don't know any Arsenal fans. And I'm trying to find out what football club Osprey supports, but I can't find it.
There's another one, by the way, just on something that grinds my gears, if you will, is people coming in and getting spots, like Rousey coming in and getting title spots. Little things like that just grind my gear, if you will.
Yeah.
To round off the conversation whilst you figure out Osprey's favorite football team. To round that up, I was going to go with GoonerWorks actually in Evolution, because Evolution has 3 of 4 of my probably favorite wrestlers. Ric Flair, it's just a fucking gold mine with his longevity, the shit that he did with the 4 Horsemen, the rivalry with Hulk Hogan. He did so much, dude. He was absolutely peak. Triple H, of course, and Randy Orton, who still continues to wrestle. So Evolution was a big one for me. And I was never, and still to this day, wasn't a massive fan of Batista. I can't tell you or explain to you exactly why, but there's something about him that I was like, it's not my cup of tea. But Evolution, similar to GoonerWorks, that said he kind of peaked right around there. That was kind of the moment in which I was not only watching wrestling, but we made it a habit at my household with my dad to watch every single Monday Night Raw, to be like, and my dad used to get like so animated, like he would like fucking hate Triple H. And I'm just sitting back chilling, watching the old man get pissed off. So it was A lot of good memories for Evolution there for sure.
Yeah.
Did you figure it out, Mikey?
No, it doesn't appear to be. I mean, maybe he doesn't love football, but he just seems like the type of guy that would be into football.
He wrestled in Japan, so maybe he has like some Japan, like he.
Yeah, he loves Nagoya Grampus 8.
Yeah, there you go. Please tell me, is that a real team? Please tell me.
Yeah, that was the team that Arsene Wenger managed right before he came to Arsenal. Yeah, in between Monaco and Arsenal, the Nagoya Grampus 8.
Till this day, that has to be by today's modern landscape of football. That seems so insane to bring somebody over from that
Arsene who they said, but yeah. We might have to just go on Twitter and try to tag Will Ospreay and get him to answer that question, and then of course, bring him on the podcast. But
we already got one wrestler.
I think if the New Day was around when Arsene came to Arsenal, when they said Arsene, they'd been like, who?
Love that. All right, so we're gonna talk about baby faces and heels. First, we're gonna do it all time, and then we're gonna talk about current. So feel free, Mikey, to rope these in. Give me some of your past baby faces and heels and some of your current baby faces and heels. I will say I lost my train of thought. That's what I was going to say. Mikey, go ahead, take it away. Start this conversation off.
I think you can say, to me, the best baby face and the best heel at the same time is Chris Jericho.
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to say. I know that there's going to be some crossover because there's multiple wrestlers that have done both very well. So if you're going to, for example, you're going to pick Chris Jericho, and you just said that Chris Jericho is the greatest of all time. If I do recall you saying,
oh yeah,
greatest of all time.
He's
try to pinpoint, like, if you're going to go with Jericho, what do you like more, the prick heel or the baby face?
I like him more as a baby face because he can use more of his comedy. The skits that he's done, although normally his best baby face runs begin with him as a heel, and then his stupidity and his character, just despite the fact that they're supposed to be annoying, they're supposed to be heel type qualities. And they just get over so strong with the crowd that they soften him up and they turn him heel, and he's just hilarious. And there's nobody better than him. I mean, Stone Cold is right there. The Rock is right there, but he was almost too vanilla to WWE at one point. You could never see The Rock like move from one place to another and have the kind of success that he had. He was just a pure WWE product. But Jericho to me is the best of all time. He's still going, and he's reinvented himself 15 different times. I mean, the guy has 9 different nicknames.
The Ocho. What's your favorite?
The Ocho, Lionheart.
What's your favorite Jericho?
My favorite Jericho was
of the worlds.
Was the one during the list.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a name. It's not like Lionheart, Chris Jericho, or anything. It was just, and
that's scarf wearing Jericho.
Yes. I didn't love the Y2J Jericho that first came in, but yeah, the scarf wearing, the jacket that lit up wearing, that's the guy. And I mean, it was just hilarious. The list was right when we first started podcasting. It was 2016, 2017, and I remember. Chris Carpenter from the Burkamp Wonderland, I found out very early on he was super into wrestling, and that Danny was semi into wrestling, and they did listener questions at the end, and every single time my question was geared towards trying to get Chris to do the whole list thing. It was great. But yeah, Jericho's one
of my favorite Jericho moments ever. It was when he was in WCW still, and he went on because he was feuding with oh man, what's that guy's name? Palenko. No, what's his name? Palenko. Dean Malenko. He was feuding with him, and he was the man of 1,000 holds. So Chris Jericho came up and he started a promo. It was after a match or whatnot. He's like, Dean Malenko says he's the man of 1,000 holes. Well, I have here a list of all the holes that Chris Jericho is a master in, and he opens the pieces of paper and it just falls to the floor.
It's a
And he's
scroll that like
hole number 1, headlock. Hole number 2,
put that back up like
arm bar. Hole number 3, suplex or whatever. And then he goes through like 5 different things, and then it cuts to commercial, and then it comes out of commercial, and he's still reading off the list. And
he's like number 215,
arm bar. He said arm bar like 17 times.
It's almost like the same formula as that Moxley promo in AEW. Like
exactly.
It's a long list of things where half of them are one thing.
when I saw that, it made me laugh even harder because it was like, oh, he's just bringing back and even the list. Even you just made the list. It's all coming back to that one night on WCW when he has 1,001 holds to beat Dean Malenko. Oh my God, it was the funniest thing ever.
You know that the writers, they weren't writing that for him. Like
that's all him.
Yeah, I mean, they might have like workshopped it after he came up with the idea, but you can tell when that the stuff that Jericho does, that Branka Wirtz or Vince Russo, like he didn't come up with those things. Jericho did. Yeah. And that's what sets him apart to me, because Hogan, what a empty-headed, like he had absolutely no creativity whatsoever. He had one thing, and he held on to that too long. A guy like Jericho, man.
Eating your vitamins and saying your prayers.
I hope that was his one thing. I hope when Jericho finally reaches the point where he retires from the ring, I hope he's still like, he's amazing when he doesn't do it so much. He hasn't done it at all, actually, in maybe the last year and a half. But he did a lot of commentary in early AEW as well.
Yeah.
And he is hilarious.
He's very good on the mic. Well, I think he's one of the greatest on the mic.
Oh.
Or on the stick.
On the stick.
Has he been inducted into the Hall of Fame yet?
No.
I
don't think that'll happen until he retires.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe get one more run in WWE, but that probably won't happen.
Yeah, with him being so active and involved in AEW since the start, I that might be one of those things where
but you see that though. Like, look at Cody. Cody started AEW. He's in the main event.
Well, and the guy who he fell out with isn't there anymore. So I don't see that, and I don't really see a strong. The thing with AEW and WWE, it really isn't. They're two different types of wrestling, and I don't think that they're trying to compete with each other really. Maybe for talent, but not for viewers.
I think the problem is Tony Khan keeps on saying they're competing with them. I feel like he would do good to stop saying that so much. Like if you hear a lot of his interviews, he's like, we're competing, we're aware of who we're competing with. We're going up against, and like comparing himself to WCW, just little things like that. I'm like, I kind of wish that he would get away and just try to carve out his own niche in the wrestling community, I guess.
The people he signs, and it's essentially pure wrestling for marks, like, because that's what he is, but with good mic work and all that. Whereas the WWE is kind of the opposite. It's storylines with wrestling thrown in, whereas the AEW is all about pure technical wrestling with but also then with storylines on top of it. Even the matches that are violent and the I Quit matches and all that type of stuff have good wrestling in them. So that's why I say they're two different products, really. And I don't think that they're not going to keep Edge out of the Hall of Fame. They're not going to keep Daniel Bryan out of the Hall of Fame. It's just going to take time for that to happen. But
and it's good for the business, because if Edge was still there, if Daniel Bryan was still there, they wouldn't have like the guys that they have there now that are main eventing who are holding the strap as they say, you know. So it's you got to just let go. But like I almost feel that when AEW first started, they wanted to do their own thing, and while Vince was still there, he was trying to stamp them out, and like he put NXT against Dynamite on purpose to try to steal viewers. So I think that whole thing started from WWE, from Vince rather. But now, like you're saying, Mikey, like they like this last week, they were talking about the CM Punk interview from last week way too much. They just
what a
say one thing, defend your colors, and then move on. But it was almost every other match they were talking about it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a little bit better off. Mikey, I got to say kudos to you because I asked you for babyface and heel, past and present. I was expecting 4 answers. You gave me 1 wrestler that encompassed all eras.
You know me. I want my talking bits to be as short as possible so that everyone else can get a chance.
Efficiency. That's what Mike is, like a gazelle. Just efficient AF. Joe, favorite heel?
I never interrupt anybody.
No, at all.
As you do it.
This is you sober, Mike. You on a few red rums. I mean that. Joe, babyface and heel, past and present, sir.
Past is gonna be Stone Cold. For my face. For my face.
Okay.
And then my heel is gonna be Vince McMahon. Nothing's better than watching Vince McMahon crucify his daughter on live TV.
As
then,
you do.
Yeah. That was like he's an asshole. Like you gotta hate him, no matter what.
Turns out he is an asshole.
Oh yeah.
he wasn't acting this whole time. Look at that. I remember when was it Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels and like a Mania was like beating the ever piss out of him. One of them too. And I remember like my dad and I watching it, my dad looking over like, is this going to end or is he just going to keep on beating the shit out of McMahon? And McMahon he was taking it, man. So in that sense,
I don't think Bret Hart ever beat the shit out of him. He spit on him though.
He spit on him. Yeah, dude. I'll Google search that as Joe continues to talk about the presents because now I'm genuinely curious. Go for it, Joe.
97 in Montreal.
Wasn't there a match when Bret Hart came back?
I believe so, yeah.
And like Shawn Michaels was the special guest referee or something like that.
Something Bret Hart
and
no holds barred match 2000. Okay.
Against Vince.
So they did. Yeah, it's a picture of Bret just beat the ever living piss out of him, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was one. I just 19. I'll look it, but feel free, Joe, to continue on with the conversation.
It was 2010 at WrestleMania.
There you go.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
it was a no holds barred match, and the funny thing is that as big of an asshole as Vince is, he didn't care what he looked like. Like he knew that would be good for business. He knew that the fans wanted to see Bret basically finally get the win because for 13 years after the Montreal Screwjob, Bret basically took a big L. He went over to WCW and did fuck all there, and
he had a big idiot ruin his career or end his career.
Yeah, he did. But
your cousin.
But the so that I remember Bret and Bret had a stroke already by that point, right?
Yeah.
Whose cousin? I missed
yours. Your cousin.
Yeah. Fucking Seb.
That took me a minute, Seb. Took me a minute.
I think the funniest moment for me was getting it immediately and then seeing your face change, Joe. Like the moment you got it, you're like, oh. Love that.
Oh my god! I love
it. Do you have any favorite current babyface and heel, Joe?
Not face, but I love what The Rock and the Bloodline are doing right now.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
They
Good point.
they took a WrestleMania that I was not interested in, and they have me watching every week now.
Yeah, that's
That
No,
great.
shit that Rock did this week with Cody Rhodes and the belt and the blood.
Mm.
I'm like,
Beating
I
him up
can't,
in
I
blood.
can't wait, I can't wait.
Yeah, no, and he added to with all the Instagram stories that he was posting, the long promo videos that he was posting, and he could even go even further than what he does on TV. And you dude, The Rock is one of the very few wrestlers where he could monologue for 15, 20 minutes, and you're like, okay, now I'm here, I'm paying attention, and he holds your attention the entire time. So.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
was not the original plan for this storyline. This is a storyline that I think legitimately they had to change on the fly because of the crowd reaction.
Before we dive into that, we will get into that, Mikey. Actually, it's on the list while we start talking about WrestleMania. But I'm gonna let Sebby give me some heels and some baby faces. I just made the list. Damn it! Nobody cuts Mike Feinberg.
You know what happens when you cut Mike Feinberg off?
When you cut the final boss off.
We've been trying to stay away of like going back and saying the same people, but my favorite face is Stone Cold. I love him. He got me back into wrestling. That promo he put on Jake the Snake Roberts at the King of the Ring. Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. That brought me back in. I think that kind of reset wrestling too, from like the whole early WWF Hulk Hogan days. That brought a lot of people back into it. He brought me back into wrestling. And Vince, and he was such a scumbag, and like we were talking before the show, like everybody wants to smack the shit out of your boss. So like Stone Cold just beating the shit out of his boss every weekend and screwing him over and pissing him off. It was just so fun and amazing to watch. Current face, I gotta go with Cody. I am a Cody crybaby, and I'm proud to say it. I love him. I always thought he was great, even when he was in WWE and he was dashing Cody Rhodes. And then he'd be mid card, and then he would just never get the right push. And then he said, "You know what? I'm going to do my own thing." He worked the Indies for years. He went to New Japan, was in the Bullet Club there, and that's where he met Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Hangman, and then they started AEW, and they just took wrestling into a whole new level, and it made WWE have to do better and not just put out garbage every week, which was what they were doing for a long time. Like me and Joe, we would talk about like, why are we watching this? It's the same thing over and over and over again.
Were you sitting on the couch together watching it at the time? Like
we were holding hands and sitting on the couch together, yeah, in our underwear.
Like, why are we watching this, and what are you doing on my lap?
No, but it was just
like going up and up. Like I thought it peaked at together, and then it just, you guys managed it.
Yeah.
It was going to end in penetration.
Oh, I had to make him humble. But yeah, so Cody, I think he's great. I loved his father. His father was Dusty Rhodes, was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And as far as heel right now, another cousin of Mikey is MJF. I think he is amazing.
He's great.
He really is. I wrote him down. I wanted to make sure we mentioned him at some point in the podcast. So
I honestly, I lost interest in AEW in the last couple of months because he hasn't been on. He's so good on the mic as a heel. You don't know if whatever he's saying is true or if it's a work. He's amazing, and he's from Long Island, New York. According to him, the greatest place in the world. and yeah, no, he's so good. And there are promos when he comes into the ring as a heel, and then he cuts a promo, and then you're like, oh man, I understand what he's saying. That's terrible. They like
But when he was
racial,
bullied as a kid.
yeah, they like racially abused this kid when he was like when he was in high school. And then like 30 minutes later, like you feel bad for him, and then like 30 minutes later, he does some scumbag thing because he's our scumbag, and like he brings you back. He's back into full heel. He's so good.
Yeah,
He could be a face because let's be honest, anybody who's a really good heel, fans want to see him as a face so they can cheer for him and be like a fan of his. So you're always, at least me, I'm always rooting for him to be a face, but he could do either or. He's so good on the mic. His in-ring ability is not very.
It's above average.
It's above average. He's a modern day Ric Flair, I would say, as far as like he'll sell. Like for a face, like if he's a heel, he'll sell the hell out of the match and make the face look good and strong. But then he'll do his heel thing and poke in the eyes or a low blow or something like that. It's like old school wrestling, but taken up a notch. I think he's amazing.
He's one of the biggest revelations that came out of like early, like the homegrown, the pillars, if you will.
Yes.
But I have a current heel, and he's heel-ish, but like he's definitely plays the part of a heel, and I want to make sure that he gets mentioned because he is it more. He plays a different role than a wrestler. He's not a wrestler, but the greatest mind I think to ever be involved in wrestling, Paul Heyman. I mean,
he's awesome. Yeah,
I'm excited that he's. I mean, I'm not like jumping for joy, but like the fact that it's overdue that he be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But like that guy is, I mean, he's hilarious. But what's better with him than anything else is you know how in football, since this is an Arsenal podcast, they say like, well, you got to be at the game because when you see what he does off the ball, it's even more impressive than scoring or assisting. What he does, just a nonverbal stuff, like the way he looks at Roman Reigns when he's talking, the way he hands the microphone to him and then backs up, so like the faces he makes when he's standing on the ring apron when actions. I mean, I just watch him most of the time because there is never a moment where he's not working, where he's just standing there. And and of course, my favorite promo that he ever gave, and he was, he's like, my job as a Jew is to like he loves talking about how
he's great.
A lot of cousins.
If Chris Jericho were Jewish, then between MJF, him, Barry Horowitz,
Mount Rushmore,
and Paul Heyman, you'd start to notice a trend going on. But
I love that. I remember when Roman Reigns came out and got booed, he said he was going to leave. And that's when they were kind of playing the tension between The Rock and Reigns.
Right. Yeah.
And to your point, Paul Heyman, it was like just if I can, he's coming. He's like the way
when he needs to be. He's overly obsequious to a degree that's like comical, but
100%.
He's like, at what point does he start getting recognized as being one of the best actors in the world? He'll never be taken seriously. He's not going to win any Emmys or anything like that. But like, he could be the best supporting actor, and in any Emmys that I would be in charge of.
He's the Paul Giamatti, something like that.
The actor.
He's a supporting actor, like his mannerisms and everything. That's what we're gonna cast him to play Paul Heyman in the next movie. That's coming up.
That'd be an amazing casting, to be honest.
Boom, I'm on it. Hey, Seb, be honest with me. How surprised are you that I recognize that name? By the way,
that's chapeau, mon ami.
Yeah, because I don't know what a movie is for the last 20 to 30 years, so that's impressive for me. Babyface for me, I have a soft spot for Bret Hart. I think he did a lot of good work, putting a lot of people over. If you ever hear an interview of Stone Cold, He loves the man. Like I think he said that he never beat Bret Hart on TV, but he beat Bret Hart in every house show. And no matter how he lost, Hart made Stone Cold look like a superstar. And so Hart had that whole idea of helping the up and coming talent, and he was always willing to do that. So I have a soft spot for him. Favorite heel, and again, a lot of this memories that I have is it kind of goes back to memories that I had with my old man, with my dad, and the dirtiest player in the game, Ric Flair, used to piss the ever living daylights out of my dad, dude. Just boiled his piss with the low shots, with everything that he used to do with eye poke, and my God, dude, few things more comical than him taking a punch, rolling back, and just dropping like a flank. And even in his old age, I'm looking at him like, motherfucker, that has to hurt. So as far as being a heel, yeah, I gotta go with Ric Flair, man. He's a good one. Yeah. And then of course Hart, I mean, he has a ridiculous storyline in the world of wrestling. So that Hart Foundation, the whole thing, his brother, Owen, everything that happened, that just all in good memory. I was at the peak watching when it comes to wrestling and all of that. The feuds that he had with Shawn Michaels, all absolutely epic.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy and a little bit sad? You talked about what brought you back into wrestling, Seb. The thing that brought me back, like I used to watch, on Saturday mornings, watch that silliness and just every once in a while I would watch. They would have Saturday night's main event, which would be like good matches, and that was what, in the 80s, mid to late 80s.
Yeah,
and then I moved to London. I came back. I went to college. I wasn't watching wrestling at that point. Got married, had kids, I didn't have kids yet, got married. What brought me back was curiosity from when Owen Hart died.
Right.
Like I wanted to see what they did about that. So like I heard about that, like, it was all over the news. It wasn't just, on wrestling things, but like when that happened, I was like, because I didn't even know Owen Hart. I knew Bret Hart because I think when I was watching, he was still with Marty Jannetty, and he was still with Jim, the Anvil
Neidhart.
Yeah, and the Hart Foundation. But like, I just wanted to see like how they would handle this, and so I watched the Raw the next day, and then I'm like, and then it just started sucking me in, and the storylines were all really like amazing at that point. It was right in the height of like Rock and Stone Cold and DX and Attitude Era, and I was
Era,
and I just got sucked in. And I watched it for a solid, like that was 99. And I watched it for like a solid 6 or 7 more years before I lost track of it again. And then got right back into it again when my son and his friends started watching, like 2011, 2012. And that's when we started going and holding up the Arsenal signs.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
But
that whole thing,
it's such a morbid thing to have like drawn my interest back.
Like, that was peak negligence, huh? Like in hindsight, with everything that was revealed after, that was just flipping insane, man.
So sad.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna finally get to the main dish, gentlemen. That is WrestleMania. We're gonna keep this next round short and sweet. Mike, that's for you. Most anticipated match of Mania, not including, I'm going to say, the 2 main events, which is, anything involving The Rock, Cody, Bloodline.
That's hard because it's so heavy. There's seven championships up for grabs, but like it's so heavily geared towards those 2 matches. But I think the best match, most entertaining match, will probably be that tag team championship, the ladder match.
Okay.
It has the opportunity of being a pretty interesting spot fest, but I'm not too invested in any of the teams. Like if Miz and R-Truth win, that would be great, but like,
it'd be hilarious.
They're
not going to, and I couldn't really care. I'm so sick of the New Day at this point, and I'm just over the rest of them. So I would probably say the one I'm looking forward to the most is the Uso one. The brother versus brother.
Hopefully in that tag team match that you're talking about, hopefully one guy from one team and another guy from another team grabbed like a
different
Raw
belts.
and a SmackDown at the same exact time, then they can split the two belts away from each other, because I'm tired of having these unification belts.
Yeah.
And then they're
I think
carrying.
I think that's the way that it's happening. I mean,
I like that.
Then it's been like almost 5 years now where they're carrying tag teams carrying 4 belts. It's so stupid. Just rip them apart. Have one team win one team win another. I hope they do that.
Dude, that's a glorious finish. I would love to see that actually.
It's really been bugging Sebby for years. I mean, he texts me sometimes. He's like, Mike, I can't sleep.
Yeah, I know.
1 a.m., Mike.
I can't sleep. Yeah, I don't, you know.
Between the tag team belt and the in the subway.
Show some respect for the tag team division, for crying out loud.
That's how I used to think about the Intercontinental in US. I'm like, sometimes those titles went through some roads where I'm like, come on, man, stop treating it so badly. Like, at one point in time, I mean, Cruiserweight, I think, they had like some like really big names. I'm like, dude, like, I just feel like it's such a like aftermath thought.
Do you remember the European Championship?
Oh yeah.
I think Al Snow held that, which tells you how serious that was. But
that one's
well,
brutal.
what does everybody want, guys?
What does everybody need?
What's
To get on to the next question. Go ahead, Joe.
I need Joe to answer this next question. Otherwise, this podcast is never going to end. Any anticipated matches for you, Joe, outside of the main event?
Sami Zayn versus Gunther.
Love that one. Solid. Speaking about giving some respect to those titles, this is a good example.
Yeah, like I didn't like it at first, but this week was a great that montage as he has with Chad Gable.
It has a real Rocky,
a
real Rocky-esque to it, and being in Philadelphia, it's a nice touch.
And then Gunther comes out and just rocks them. I don't see him losing the belt, but they're building up a good story going into WrestleMania.
Can they really take the belt off of Gunther and Roman Reigns at the same event? Yeah, I mean, it's silly how long both of them have held it. I don't love that, but
yeah, I'm not a big fan.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know that they can both change hands. So I would tend to agree with you. Chad Gable's very underrated. Obviously he's a good in-ring performer, but he's not big enough to be like known for his in-ring stuff. But I mean, charisma wise, he's in that mold of a Jericho, like a mini Jericho, where he comes up with things that a thank you, like all of that stuff is just catchy, and it's just.
Vince almost ruined him when he changed his name to Shorty G, and somehow he survived that. And he is where he is now.
90s rapper.
That just goes to show how good he is on the mic and in ring ability as well.
I think
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anybody that can survive character changes like that, and still get over deserves a championship run at any level. I don't care. Give him the Intercontinental belt. Bring back the European belt. Bring back the TV title. Just give him a belt and make anything. Just give him something.
Yeah, that's when, and something that I absolutely love about wrestling is, even though a lot of supporters, fans, however you want to refer to them, we know that the outcome is scripted. We know that it's a soap opera. That's how we refer to it.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Seb, but I just broke this news. But there's a certain level of almost like genuosity, realism that the people like, and so when Chad Gable survived, people are still pushing him, right? And Roman Reigns, when the company was pushing him on the fans, they booed the shit out of him when he won the Rumble. They booed the shit out of him when he was next to the Rocks. It literally took Paul Heyman to kind of turn his old persona, but people like Gable, Brian Daniels, Daniel Bryan, whatever company you want to put him in, just kind of naturally coming up. CM Punk, I guess you could kind of qualify him in that, just kind of coming up because okay, Mike made a ill face for CM Punk, so let's just leave it at Brian and Chad. I just feel like it's so amazing for me that when it's the crowd chooses you, I guess. And it's to Joe's point, you deserve something at that point because you managed to sneak your way in the heart of millions of fans. So I think that's pretty damn cool.
Well, and as much as I think he's not a subpar wrestler, I mean, he's still very young, but like and I'm not talking about Gable now, I'm talking about somebody else. I mean, when you see a guy get so much heat just for being who he like there, you have
Dominic?
you have to give the guy flowers. Like, yeah, he kind of, I think they rushed him, they rushed that story with him and his dad and stuff, although it came off well, but like, for him to, what is he, 2 years into his career, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, but for him to have that level of heat just for being the way he is, I mean, it doesn't matter whether he's a good wrestler, it doesn't matter whether he deserves his spot or not. Like that's impressive. Yeah. He shuts down promos like just with the amount of heat and fans, they say the only thing worse than, I mean, the apathy is the worst thing. They can either cheer you or boo you, but they better do either one of those things like with energy. And I mean, that level of reaction is as important to the people backstage as someone who's so just ridiculously over that he gets the whole crowd behind him like an LA Knight.
They booed him at his own wedding a month ago.
That's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant, dude. That is awesome.
I bet you Kurt Angle's like most recent wedding, they were chanting "You sucked."
That'd be glorious. Somebody said that he does a great job even doing it in the back room. Like, again, I've been stumbling on a lot of like wrestling podcasts, and somebody came out from having a match with Rey Mysterio, and as he was passing by, he sees Dominic in the back room, and he mentions like something about like, your dad's he literally says your dad's a legend, and Dominic just goes, fuck him.
Stayed in character.
That's fucking absolutely amazing to me, dude. I love that. Yeah, deadbeat. All right, Seb, get on. Anything out of the ordinary that you want to watch in this pay-per-view?
Yeah, whatever. All the matches you guys said, but to be honest, there's only one storyline that we're all thinking about, and
Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley. I know you love it.
Yeah, the Io Sky Bailey thing is, I mean, wake me up when the match is on.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope Kevin Owen wins the title from Logan Paul. And there, I'll say that one. That's my answer.
That'll be good. Yeah.
All right, Seb. So let's dive into the main dish, if you will. Let's talk about how it came to be, I guess, because that's like a massive talking point. So hopefully we could get The Rock to badmouth us on Instagram too, like he did that one podcast. That'd be absolutely amazing. I want to be called a crybaby bitch, right? Because right now Feinberg just calls me a bitch, and like it doesn't add the crybaby part, and I feel a little left out. But Mike, you alluded to.
Thank you.
You alluded to it, Mike. Let's talk a little bit. Cody Rhodes wins the Rumble. Let's see if I could follow this timeline well. Cody Rhodes wins the Rumble, and he points at Roman Reigns, and everything indicates, he's mouthing off, "I'm coming for you," and it seems like everything's going to happen. Around that time, if I'm not mistaken, there was a promo of The Rock saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to this bar after this Mania, or after this. Should I sit at the bar? Should I sit here, or should I sit at the head of the table?" And that was a wink towards Reigns, right? And everything indicated that Cody was going to go with Roman, and then everything changes when Cody comes out and says, "Spoke to legends, yada yada yada," and then enters The Rock. And I listened to The Rock. I spoke to him, and he comes out, and they start doing this massive build out. And what happened after the idea,
Seth comes out and tries to convince him to pick him as well.
Yes. Seth, that is a great point, Mikey. Seth also comes out and tries to say, "Hey, wrestle me for the title." For all the great points that he points out. Hey, I'm the only one here. I'm a true champion. I'm defending it, and it culminates with The Rock. Supposedly, the setup was Reigns versus The Rock, and the way fans reacted to that was pretty ridiculously intense. And now we're gonna deep dive into this as far as Mike. Intentional heat, was that the plan? That's what the company is kind of saying, or do you think this is genuinely one of those few times in history in which there was so much fan outcry and so many people were disappointed where they had to pivot out of this?
I think it's the latter. Maybe I'm just falling for it, but like I mean, The Rock is clearly doing an extended run with them to promote the whole, UFL thing. I mean, it's a codependent thing that that makes a lot of sense, frankly. And I think that they wanted to do a family feud essentially, and you had to have Cody finish his story this year and get the title. B, you had The Rock really for one WrestleMania run. He wasn't going to, there's no reason for him to do it next year. So, do the biggest matches you can and still get your outcome. But, I think that they underestimated how much they wanted Cody to do it at Roman's expense because, of what happened last year. So, it's a bit surprising to me that they would really want Cody to go over against Seth Rollins and think that that was the payoff for the Cody thing. But I do think that they kind of got into a bind with the whole Rock thing. And when the Rock started getting heat, I remember the night that the Cody stuff started off, when Cody kind of gave the indication that he was going to pick Rollins, and the internet just went crazy. And to their credit, they acted like they weren't listening to it. They acted like they didn't give a shit, but then they clearly started scrambling to change things around. And you got to hand it to them. The way they changed it around was amazing. And the Rock doing the job that he did, basically turning heel and giving the promos that he has. That's why he's one of the greatest. But yeah, I don't think it was the original plan. I think that they've changed it on the fly.
Do you guys think it was a pivot? Because that happened right after Vince McMahon's allegations came out. And they were like, Rock's going to be the Band-Aid. He's going to make everything go away. The fans lose their mind. They pivot, like you say. They just step in shit. And they're like, we got the greatest heel and the greatest babyface right now going head-to-head into WrestleMania weekend.
I did read somewhere that I think The Rock basically was the distraction to the Vince McMahon thing. That in addition to because The Rock legitimately has an interest in whatever they're called now, TKO. I think that's there's a lot to that. I think that they wanted to push, and The Rock coming in and fighting Rollins one-on-one for the title makes no sense at all. So, I do think you're right. I think I think that the concept that it was that it was a swerve that they kind of changed on the fly was done because of what you've just said about the whole Vince thing. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Now, just keep it on the idea that they pivoted or not. Do you think that they were going to be like, yeah, Roman Reigns, The Rock suits us? Be like, because it's The Rock. They want Rock to be the babyface. They're like, people love the babyface, The Rock. This can't backfire. Do you think, like, I kind of take what Joe is saying into perspective, but do you think when The Rock entered, do you think this is what they were expecting, the backlash, or do you think that, or did they just masterly pivot essentially? Do you think people are going to be, were they expecting people to be more thrilled of Reigns/Rock?
Well, they've always alluded at Rock, Roman Reigns. And I think that was something that they may have planned for the future, but they're like, well, we need to do something. Let's give them their dream match, placate everybody. Cody will get a belt. Everybody will be happy with Cody. No problem. But it was kind of like the Daniel Bryan movement where, like, he didn't win that Royal Rumble and everybody lost their mind. And they had to put the belt on him at Mania, and he won that, like, triple threat match because fans were losing their shit.
Yeah.
I think they want Roman to beat Hogan's record. And I think so that was a way to get him to beat Roman's record by beating The Rock at Mania, and then a good way to finish the story for Cody would to win the title at some pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden, where his dad won the title but was taken away from him. That would have been, I think, that, in my opinion, that's what their perfect finish to the story was, where it ended, where it all started, where Dusty won it and lost it the same night, for Cody to come back to the same building at Madison Square Garden and win it there for his dad and his family. I think that's the only thing I can think of why Cody would give up his spot to win the title at Mania, which I don't think it's the greatest move, but whatever. That's the only thing I could think of what they were thinking.
Yeah, if you're a romantic, I guess that would have would have been nice. I mean, but because it's one of those things it's because it's not Mania. I remember when Cody lost versus Reigns last Mania, and people were like, "Hey, he might get a chance at SummerSlam," and I was like, "It's not the same. It's not." So
I was like, if they do that, that's dumb, because it's got to. And I'm, none of us. You don't think of storylines necessarily lasting more than a year anymore, but you got to hand it to them, because here they are again. And if, even though I feel fairly confident that it's coming, when he wins the title, I'm going to lose my shit. Like, not crying, but I'll be like legitimately happy.
Turkey.
Like, yeah, that's what I mean by my shit. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna be happy. I assume when it's going to happen. It's I have, again, going back on this teetering between reality and stage. I don't like the part-time-ish thing of the whole thing, and like, and maybe that's why I'm so endeared with like champions like Triple H, because he was involved in flipping everything, and so
the worst was Lesnar. I mean, my God.
Oh yeah, So it drives. So in that sense, I think that's why I'm pulling for Cody. I'm just kind of like, I get it, Reigns, and like somebody made a joke in a promo where like I think it was Seth or Drew, which is, by the way, Drew has been absolutely nothing but magnificent, just taking the piss out of CM Punk throughout this whole thing. But he told Cody, you know how this is going to end. You're going to wrestle him, and one of his cousins like his family's going to come out and screw you. Like, so he even said like, hey man, we know how this story plays out. You're not going to be by yourself. It's not going to be one-on-one. So for that, I'm hoping Cody finishes the story. But the backlash, the heat, dude, I truly think it's amazing. It just kind of goes back to the whole fan power thing. It's quite a unique little quirk. And The Rock, and I wasn't planning on speaking about this, but I'm genuinely curious what you guys' thought is. The Rock, for better or worse, he did what the company wanted if they did in fact bring him in because of the Vince thing. However, he is so over as a heel, he's over as a babyface. However, like, because he splits opinions and how they chant or what they chant with him. But my goodness, dude, like, it's the Rock show. It's not. I genuinely feel that Cody and Reigns kind of fell in second place. Like, it's almost like night one, the tag team Reigns and Rock have to win, because night two, if it doesn't have Rock, then what the shit are we actually doing? So yeah,
if I had to bet my house on one match in WrestleMania combined both nights, it would be that The Rock and Reigns are going to win that first. Because not only because of what you've just said, but also because Cody finishing his story has to be against the highest possible odds.
Yeah,
he's going to have to deal with Solo. He's going to have to deal with Jimmy. I think the question is, before the end of that match on Sunday night, does The Rock turn on the family?
Yes.
On night two or one? Night two?
On night two. Is The Rock turning on Roman part of how Cody finishes the story?
This is what I think is going to happen. Rock is going to pin Cody night one, right? To get the bloodline rules. And then night 2, Cody pins Roman with everything that happened. And then that's going to be like, The Rock is going to be like, well, I was able to pin him. Why weren't you able to pin him? I set up everything for you and you screwed up. Like, I'm the head of the table, not you. I'm the final boss. You're just my cousin. I think that's going to set up the next year's Mania, where these two guys are going to feud. The two part-timers are going to feud for the whole year, and you'll see them every 3 months. But I think that's how they get.
But I mean, at some point, The Rock's got to be filming a movie or something like that.
No, yeah, they're going to be away after Mania for like 3 months. So
what? So you and I had. I'm also anticipating a feud between them, but my idea was like maybe there's a small chance they lose night 1, and Rock screws Roman, and Roman is the one that gets pinned night 1, and Rock intervenes with the match because you messed up the opportunity to guarantee that Cody was gonna was to give him a proper lashing, if you will, with the whole blood, and Mama Rhodes was gonna cry. So even that occurred to me. But Seb,
what does Rock do on night 2 then? Does he come out with Cody? Like, does he? Yeah. I mean, that's plausible. But if it was a one-night thing, but
and this is why Sebby is a booker and I'm not.
Well, and Joe, you think that he will turn on him? So tell us how that goes down.
So I agree with Seb. I think they win night 1. Cody can't have help from The Rock.
No.
Because you put him through all this stuff, winning back-to-back Royal Rumbles, Brock Lesnar, all these matches with Roman. For him to need help from The Rock to beat Roman, he's going to beat Roman clean. And then, like you guys said, the Bloodline's going to feud for the next year. Because WWE doesn't do baby faces very well.
No.
That's going to take the heat off of Cody to, be on TV all the time. You could have Rock and Roman come in part-time, do their thing, get their ratings, do their feud next WrestleMania for who's the head of the table. And Cody can just wrestle his ass off against anybody that he wants to wrestle against.
He'll wrestle against Gunther. I think Gunther drops the title, drops the Intercontinental title, and he'll wrestle Cody. That'll be his first.
You don't mean he drops it at Mania, but he drops it like maybe at SummerSlam or something like that. Or
who, Gunther?
Yeah.
I think he drops it at WrestleMania, and then he goes for the title. He goes for Cody.
So he basically fails upwards in a sense.
Oh yeah, well that's what happens.
Oh, I know. That's what happens with NXT all the time. Like
exactly.
When they lose the title, they're on their way out.
Because Cody and Gunther, they put some good performances at Royal Rumbles together. So like they have a good in-ring chemistry too. So I think that would be something interesting to watch.
Does anybody on the panel buy into the idea that there's going to be an Avengers-like scenario?
It'd be
Captain
amazing.
America says, "Assemble," and here comes The Rock and John Cena because they were on that well-lit front and center poster.
Stone Cold and John Cena. While The Rock was whooping Cody. Like, does anybody think? Because there's also been, because in this Twitter age and the internet age, it's hard to keep something truly under wraps, but there's been rumors that John Cena was going to be involved somehow. Yeah.
Does anybody foresee bloodline roles getting hectic now? That would possibly throw a monkey in the wrench on The Rock versus Roman, unless Rock is just still mad at Roman that he lost, right? By the way, in this whole conversation, if they were going to be feuding, what crossed my mind is I'm generally like curious where Paul Heyman goes.
Ooh.
To The Rock side or with Roman. Either way, it's going to be great.
He's going to The Rock side.
Yeah, but do you guys anticipate by any way, just because they put them up there for the world to see during that scene, do you guys think Cena Austin has anything to do in the main event?
Ever since we got DX versus NWO, anything's possible. I would love to see that, but that would be so crazy. That's almost too ridiculous.
It would be cool though, like the same like Avengers Assemble, everybody that the bloodline has screwed in the last almost 3 years.
Yeah, Sami
Zayn, even Cena, Sami
Orton.
Zayn. Who else? Orton,
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. Everybody they screwed. They could do that Avengers Assemble kind of moment where, like, okay, bloodline rules, but you know what? F you guys. You guys have been cheating for your Roman Reigns. Your title reign
But
has
you get
been
too much outside help, and it weakens Cody's win, though.
No, I get it. I get it too. But
We're just all grown men talking about this.
yeah,
like
but that's what's
real.
it's still real.
I want to see who ends up. I want everybody to we want to
save me the pod.
Right.
It's still
yeah.
real to me, damn it.
That'd be another. Okay. While we're wrapping things up, does anybody think Seth Rollins is actually not going to lose to Drew?
I think he's going to lose.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think he's going to lose because it's going to be you're too distracted. Drew's going to run him into the ground saying, "I fucking told you, you're too distracted. You should have been a better champion. This is why I work on my bicep, my triceps or whatever, and I don't get injured like CM Punk. I'm a real."
Is Rollins going to go 0-2 at a WrestleMania?
I think he wins. I think he retains. And then it's a triple threat between CM Punk, Drew, and Seth at SummerSlam.
All right. Unpopular opinion. I could see Seth losing and potentially blaming Cody and a feud getting born from there.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Philadelphia screw job.
Philadelphia, a good old fashioned Philadelphia screw job. Philly is a crazy place, so label screw job what you want.
That would put a lot of heat on CM Punk, and he needs that right now because he's got nothing. Everybody hates him. Everybody hates him for the wrong reasons. This would put good heat on him.
I hate him for the wrong reasons, but I hate it. I just
you hate him for the good and bad, so it's all equal opportunity.
I mean, he's just clearly an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, like
did you hear his interview in AEW, like how things played out, and does that change any of your perspective?
No, he's still an asshole.
Okay, still an asshole. Okay, shoot. I think that's a good way to end.
There's one common denominator to every single one of his fallouts, and it's him.
CM Punk's asshole.
You know, fool me 14 times, shame on me. Fool me 15 times, shame on you, or whatever, the opposite of that. We've got one person commenting in the chat, and he's in England right now. But yeah, Nikki Fights, I believe. We actually talked about Arsenal for an hour on ABW last night. That was boring. Well, the second half of that game was not nearly as exciting as WrestleMania is going to be. I'll tell you that.
Oh, 100%. But boys, I do think that is a good place to end this show. This podcast is a standalone podcast or once a month podcast, depending on what Sebby and Magic Mike wants to do. For me, most likely a one and done, but maybe I'm going to take up a Brock Lesnar schedule. All right, I'll be back in August. All right,
you guys are welcome back anytime. We have a number of volunteers that have wanted to appear on this show. I'm sure Nick would love to do it. I know James JJ would love to do it. So we got to keep it going. I don't know how, I don't know where, but we've been talking about this for a while. And Joe, would love to have you on again. Yeah. Thanks, Mikey, for running the show.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Mike, thank Sebby. You were the mastermind behind this all. So kudos to you for getting this all together. Mike, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I hardly get to talk to you on the Gooners podcast anymore because of my wretched schedule. But let's see. Hopefully when Arsenal win the title, I'll be able to. The titles. When they win the double.
When they win the undisputed European. They win the European Championship.
Yeah. And last but not least, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. From coming out of retirement, sir. You are the gift that keeps on giving, never goes away.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, here's where we play the outro that we don't have.
We have no outro, so we're going to end it with one big.
Oh, you didn't know? This is the